Hello, friends. This is Kiki Rogers with Kiki's Best Friends Radio Show, a show that shares stories of people who have been through their worst but are now living their best. And today I am so honored and happy to be sharing the spotlight with Sarah Soders of Sarah Soders Luxury Real Estate. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, how are you today?
Tell everyone a little bit more about what you do in Soders Real Estate.
So I work primarily in the Oro Valley and Dove Mountain areas of the Tucson area. I also do work the foothills and, some of other places in Tucson. But I currently am working with a lot of buyers. It's very active and busy right now in our area because we have so many people visiting the area because everybody loves the sunshine here, the mountains, and the beautiful desert landscape. So I'm out almost every day right now showing people homes, or I have several listings right now, and I'm also showing my own listings.
Wonderful. And if people are looking at buying a home or have questions about buying or selling or want to speak to yourself as a realtor, how do they get a hold of you?
They can call me or text me anytime, 520-305-6974.
Well, that's great. And we have you here as my co-host and our sponsor of our show. And we appreciate all of our sponsors. And we also have a guest with us. Candace Eaton is here, and she's here to share her story. So let's say hello, Candace.
Hello, Candace.
Hello, Candace.
All of a sudden, I just had this image of us doing the SNL bits, It's been right to that vision. Hello, Candace. Welcome very much to Kiki's Best Friends show. And you are one of my best friends here in Tucson, one of my first friends here in Tucson.
Aww.
When I moved here 2 years ago. And I'm just so glad to have you.
I am glad to have you as a friend. I'm glad that we tripped over each other at the Sands Club when we did.
We did, yeah. Kind of kept meeting at networking and working on the business end of things, but we've gotten to know each other a little bit beyond that through that friendship. And
we have.
And I just really love how you're open to coming and sharing more about that today. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
So Candace is here, and we are going to talk about kind of a tough subject I think a lot of people out there are struggling with, and or have struggled with.
Yes.
I know I have myself.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about depression, because isn't that fun, guys?
Fun.
Yay!
Happy times.
But it is a reality. It is something that I think affects a lot of us, if not most of us. And you were sharing with me that's something that you've faced yourself. Is that right, Candace?
It is. I've struggled with it since pretty much high school.
Mm-hmm. How did you kind of come to realize that it was something more than just blues or feeling sad?
Probably when it reached a point where it was just so intense that there was self-harm involved.
Okay. And so self-harm was one of the symptoms of your depression.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any others that you were recognizing in your life?
Well, I mean, at the time, I don't know that I necessarily recognized it. It's that whole forest through the trees sort of thing. But looking back on it, definitely I can see that there was a lot of things that I did when I was younger that really were manifestations of that, like lots of self-destructive behavior, just hanging out with people who weren't good for me, who weren't good for my health in general, doing things that weren't good for my health in general, abusing alcohol and just not doing things that are good for you, doing things that you know aren't good for you, doing things that you know are dangerous.
What do you think was driving you to do those things then?
Oh boy. I sure hope my therapist is listening so we don't have to go back over this in session.
Fair enough. We get real here real fast, don't we?
No kidding.
We just get right into it.
We're gonna
get 30 minutes, guys. I got ads in the middle.
Right. But let's go.
No. But seriously,
I think it was just a lot of it was looking for acceptance. A lot of it was looking for a rush.
Okay.
A lot of it was just a general lack of give a darn. There we go. Can't censor that.
But I get that, where you just kind of feel like, what's the point then of fighting the urges?
Exactly. Like if I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna feel poorly no matter what I do, I may as well, do the thing that looks like fun right now, I guess.
It's a loss of hope.
That's a
Loss
good way
of
to put
hope.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lack of hope. That where do I go from here? Is there a way to go from here?
Right.
And that's what I always call that worst moment.
Yes.
And why I love sharing our worst to best stories is because when you're in that moment, you do feel stuck, I think.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way?
I did. I felt like there was, the more you do dumb things, the more you get into a spot where you're like, well, I've already, it's sunk cost.
Okay.
Well, I've already done this. I'm already here. This is how I see myself, and this is how other people see me, and there's no way to unwind that. You can't undo it. It's already been did. So, you may as well just keep hammering down that path, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. You're on this path. That's the way you're going, and you don't realize that at any moment you can just turn around and walk the other direction.
Right.
And so you're
Exactly.
just stuck, blindsided, you're just like those horses. You can't see the other side.
Right.
You're just going forward
Yeah.
on that one path.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you remove those blinders? How did you start looking for a difference?
I realized that it was only going to keep getting worse, and that, I actually had lost a friend a few years prior to his depression, and something someone had said to me clicked in my head one day. They were like, like from a long time ago, that someone had said, "Oh my gosh, you guys are like the same person."
Right.
And I was like, wow, well, that could become, surprisingly relevant real quick. So I sought out a therapist, and they immediately medicated me.
Okay. Were you resistant to that at first, or were you open to anything they suggested?
I was at a point where I had two choices. I could continue to be resistant, and it was going to end really very badly, or I had to do the thing. And just walking into a therapist office at that point was pretty much that was the activation energy required to get me to, like, here, I'm here. Everything else I'm doing clearly isn't working. So sure, tell me what to do.
That makes perfect sense. And how long ago was that in your life?
That was in like 2012, I think.
So a little over 10 years, about 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you walked in that therapist's office, but you had mentioned, and I think this is really important for us to kind of pause on, is that moment where you just really do feel like, if I don't do something differently, can I continue to survive this?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry for the loss of your friend. I that touches my heart, because I lost my cousin Brian in 2015 to suicide. And we used to be like a pack of us, all of us cousins were like, we were the chain breakers, we were the ones who were stopping the patterns of our parents, that, and those generational abuse stories.
Right.
And then to lose him, I felt very vulnerable.
Right.
Because together we felt so strong, like we could break those chains. But now knowing that he was vulnerable made me realize that I was too.
Right. Yeah.
So I do want to speak out there for those who are listening. If you are in that moment right now where you feel like, I don't know where to go from here, or I'm considering or contemplating or have these uncontrollable thoughts about suicide or depression, I want you to please reach out for help. there is a suicide and crisis lifeline that you can call on your phone at just call on 988 988. You can just dial those 3 numbers, and that'll get you in touch with the suicide and crisis lifeline. Or you can text a message to 988 for help. And there's also the crisis text line of 741 741. Text home to 741 741. Or do as Candace did and reach out and find a therapist or someone that wants to help you. There's a lot of resources out there. We're going to talk more about those when we come back after the break. But as we go into break, I want to thank you, Candace, for being here, and thank you, Sarah, as well. I'm glad to have you both here. Sarah Souders is with Sarah Souders Real Estate. And am I saying your last name correctly?
It's Souders.
Souders. It's
I
a
wasn't gonna
Minnesota.
correct
No,
you.
please do. Please do.
It's your accent.
The
It's okay.
Minnesotan in me. Forgive
Yeah,
me.
It's Souders.
Souders. Sarah Souders Real Estate. And also thank you to Fork and Fire for their trivia night on Sunday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to go into the break and hear some more from our sponsors. But when we come back, Candace will share a little bit more about how that journey in starting therapy and medication got her to where she is today, now living her best life. This is Kiki Rogers with Kiki's Best Friends radio show. Welcome back. Welcome back, friends, to Kiki's Best Friends radio show, a show that shares stories of people who have been through their worst and are now living their best, and how they got through it and what you can do if you are feeling like you are at your worst. And reaching out for help is number one. And that we have Candace Eaton here with, and Candace is a photographer, right?
Yes.
C.
Yes.
Eaton Photography for those who are looking for photography services.
She's an excellent photographer.
She really
Well, thank you,
is.
both of you.
Yep, she did some photos for me, both for the show and for my book that'll be coming out. So I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here with Sarah Souders.
Sow. Think like cow.
Cow.
Sow. Souders.
Souders.
You got it.
Alrighty. I like that cow. That helps.
Yes. Yes.
This is my Minnesota. Candace teased me all the time about saying, bag for B-A-G. That's bag in Minnesota. How do y'all say here?
Bag.
I hear bog.
The first time she asked me for can you hand me that bag? The what?
The what? What are you talking about?
The thing you put stuff in. Got it. The bag.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Candace, you actually, speaking of bag and bagging, you're probably thinking of dogs, because by day she's a photographer and specializing in pet photography. And you have done some really amazing work recently with, you've been doing this for years, but with PAC.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Friends of PAC.
Friends of PAC, and they have you photographing their dogs for a fundraiser calendar, correct?
Yes. So it's not necessarily PAC dogs that I photograph. It's dogs that get entered into the calendar contest. And this year the calendar raised $45,000 for Friends of PAC.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a lot of fun.
And that's something, if you know a nonprofit that's looking to, use a calendar or other resources that Candace has for fundraising or for branding, she's a great resource for all of that. If someone was interested in reaching out to you after this, how would they get a hold of you, Candace?
They can reach me via my website at ceatonphotography.com or just give me a call at 602-456-5384.
Oh, that's amazing. And the reason why I bring up her amazing accomplishments is because she was just sharing with us before the break how she had a point about 10 to 12 years ago in her life where she was really struggling with depression and kind of had decided enough is enough after losing a close friend and walked in the doors to therapy. How was that experience for you?
It was new. It was scary. It was the first time in my life I had ever been to counseling or therapy or, anything of the like. So, talking about things and feelings and was, it wasn't what we were trained to do as I was growing up. So to walk into a stranger's office and share deep, dark secrets was overwhelming.
I can see that. That would be hard, especially if you're not used to that environment.
Right.
So how did you find your first therapist? How did you seek them out?
I went actually to Campus Health. It was when I was doing my master's program at the U of A, and I needed somewhere to go. And as a master's student, I got health care through Campus Health, and so I just marched in and told them what was going on, and took the first person they plopped me down in front of.
Oh, that's great. Did you have to wait any for that therapist, or were you able to get in fairly soon?
I was able to get in pretty quickly, especially considering I was in crisis at the time. So they take that pretty seriously.
Yeah, but it does take a lot of strength to advocate for yourself and say, this is something that I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
It does.
Sometimes we don't feel like we have that strength within us. How would you say you would talk to someone who maybe said, well, I want to, but I don't know how, or I don't know where I can get that strength?
It's the same thing I say to anybody thinking about doing anything hard. You do it. You do it scared. You just
Okay.
do it.
Yeah.
You don't get the courage and then do the scary thing. You have to do the scary thing to get the courage.
That's awesome. You have to do the scary thing to get the courage. You don't get the courage to do the scary thing. That's really smart. So if you're out there, anyone, and you're feeling scared, please just remind yourselves, you can go get help. There's help out there. And after going through that therapy process then for you,
Mm-hmm.
tell us about some of the things you learned about yourself, or things that you were surprised to discover in that journey.
I learned that I was very codependent, and that a lot of my when things got really, really bad for me, it always somehow revolved around my codependency, and a lot around romantic relationships. So I just got rid of those.
Okay.
I stopped dating. I was like, this isn't working for me. We're not gonna do that anymore. So I stopped dating. I quit drinking alcohol. My first goal was like to see if I could just go for 30 days without drinking, and that took like 4 months to get to 30 straight days.
So it's hard to do.
It was. And then after that, it was like, well, I did 1 month. Let's see if I can do 2 months. Let's see if I can do 3 months. Let's see if I can do 6 months. And before you know it, it was 3 years. And I was able to develop some healthier habits, and replace the self-destructive kind of behavior with more like beneficial behavior. Developing like actual real hobbies that didn't involve going to the bar and drinking every night. That's where I picked up photography, when I picked up a camera. I picked up mountain biking. I picked up road biking. I picked up all kinds of fun hobbies that I never knew I would have liked if I hadn't stopped doing things that were taking up my time that were self-destructive as well. So
Sarah, I see you nodding over there and
Yes.
smiling. You can
Yes.
relate to that,
Yes.
huh?
Yes, and I find that it's not just getting rid of a habit, it's replacement, like you said. It's replacing those habits that you've gotten into with new habits that are healthy.
right.
Where you start making those appropriate choices, looking at yourself as having value, and making the choices to build into you and increase your value as a person rather than decrease it.
Right.
And that's what you did.
That's
Just-
amazing.
It's amazing listening to your story, and all I can think is bravery, courage. You're a light in the darkness for so many people right now, sharing your story, and I think that's beautiful.
I
Thank
hear
you.
that, and I see that in you. I hear that
Mhm.
about myself a lot, and I don't see it in myself at the same time. Is that something you still struggle with, accepting that you're a brave and strong person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at it, like when I was thinking about what we were going to talk about here today and how we were going to chat, like I literally sat and wrote down, what are all the crummy things that have happened to me in my life and what can we talk about and what is appropriate for the radio. And and then I'm looking at it and I'm like, I mean, there's people out there who grew up in war-torn countries and, have just really had nothing but a bad hand dealt to them. And I'm like, yeah, I got these handful of things, but is it inspirational or interesting or to me it's just my life. It's just another day. It's just another Tuesday.
But I think when you're being vulnerable and you're being honest with yourself and who you are with others, I think when people see that authentic self of you, they see that bravery and those strengths that we don't see in ourselves a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's easier to see in other people. It's because again, it's the forest through the trees kind of thing. Like when you're in the middle of it, when it's just your life, and I just did the next right thing. I just got up and went to campus health that morning. Like I didn't do anything particularly spectacular. I just walked in, and from inside looking out, it just looks like I just did another thing. When I talk to you and I look at you and your story and I think, man, that's a woman she's really been through it and she's really overcome some stuff. And, to be standing here today and as strong and resilient as she is, like that's inspiring, and I see that in you. And I think we can all see that in other people.
Exactly.
For us, from the inside looking out, it was just another thing. I just took the next step. It wasn't that exciting.
And that is exactly why I want to do this show, is I want people to know if you feel stuck, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling like you're struggling with an addiction or just that your life is not on the track that you want it to go in, you can make a change. You don't have to be strong. That strength comes from your actions, right?
It's just one more step. It's just a step.
And how's life now in 30 seconds? How would you say things are different or better now for you?
In 30 seconds, let's see. Things are, I still struggle every day. It's like, it'll always be a struggle, but it's something that I recognize more easily now and have developed some better tools for dealing with. And I can, and I recognize now that all I have to do is make a different decision, take a different step, or just keep taking another step, and that I can get through it. I've gotten through 100% of the bad days I've had to this point. What's another one?
I love that. And again, I can't stress enough for anyone listening, if you feel like you are struggling with depression and need help, the Suicide Crisis Lifeline is the number 988. You can just dial 988, or you can text 988, or you can also text the crisis text line 741-741. Thank you, Candace Eatons, for being here. Candace Eaton, I always want to add an S on there, and Sarah Souders.
Yes,
Yay!
you did it.
I did it. One of these days. Thank you for being here again, Sarah. If someone wants to talk to you about real estate, how can they reach you?
They can call me or text me at 520-305-6974.
This is Kiki's Best Friends radio show. Please tune again next week or buy your podcast. Be the best you that you can be, because nobody else can do it better than you. Have a good week, friends.